Our National Treasury has denied that it's trying to hold up vaccine contracts. It's been challenged on the indemnification of pharmaceutical companies. But Treasury says it's actively working on not being an obstacle to procuring these vaccines. Well, to help us understand this better, we're joined by Dondo Morajane, who is the finance director, who's a director general in the Treasury Department. Good evening, Mr. Morajane, and thank you so much for your time tonight. Firstly, let's talk about some of what you've described as onerous clauses within these contracts of pharmaceuticals that, are causing Treasury to take a lot more time before deciding which way to go in signing some of these agreements.
Thank you very much, Kathy, and good afternoon to your viewers. No, it is not. It's not Treasury who signs. I think let's get the facts clear. We sign. It's health that signs. The Minister of Finance has to concur with the indemnity that's required by some of these clauses. They concur with the Minister of Health. So we are together with health in this. Secondly, we have signed already two agreements. It's not that we are delaying. We've signed with Pfizer. We've signed with the Serum Institute. We're still engaging now with J&J. The negotiations are on. Actually, I had to leave the meeting that we're having currently with health to join you here because we're still looking for solutions that can balance the interests that are there from the interest from the suppliers. In this case, J&J, including what essentially we should safeguard our own interests as a country so that the agreements are not onerous on us. So we are engaging, we are talking, and we hope sooner or later, and the minister I know is going to be meeting, the Minister of Health is meeting with J&J tonight. So certainly we think by tonight we'll have come to some agreement and some conclusion as to what is critical for us to ensure that these agreements are signed, and then we can then confirm the orders as per the schedule that the ministers outlined.
Mr. Morajane, if you can just explain to myself and the viewers, what is this risk that Treasury is worried about the state taking on that's contained in these contracts?
Look, so some of them, meaning it will be things like, for instance, if there's any a claim against the state, then we completely indemnify the company with no clear recourse. It's things like those. So we really want to ensure that we safeguard the interests here and not only lose at the end if there's any huge claims that can run into billions and billions of rands, especially around matters that has got to do with the efficacy of the virus itself. I mean, of the vaccine, etc. So these are normal contracts that are signed, and these are normal engagement. There's nothing untoward in these negotiations, but we understand the agency, and we also understand the fact that we have to exercise some speed and agency on this matter.
Sure. You've spoken about the Serum Institute, and we know that it's 1.5 million vaccines that we're getting from there. Confirm for us, please, in terms of the Pfizer vaccine. You say you've signed that contract. What is the agreement there?
Look, in terms of the agreement, I don't have full details, but I know we've signed in terms of what they will actually. That's why I said the Minister of Health did outline previously the schedule of how these vaccines are going to be coming through. And in that schedule, it's indicated exactly how many we are going to be getting from Pfizer. I don't have the details, but all I know is that we have approved the concurrence. We've concurred with the minister, and the agreement has been signed.
How much are these vaccines costing us, at least based on the two contracts that you've entered into already?
They range. They range from any amount, $575 to. There's some companies that I know health is talking to that can even go up to almost $40, $42. So the prices range across. And again, most of them, it's a matter of confidentiality clauses that have been put in there. But in our case, we all know that the Minister of Health did indicate the amount. So they range from anything from $5 to around $40, as I say. And it varies. It varies in terms of the agreement. It's per country, per company. There are no details that have been identified from those that we have not signed with us yet.
So perhaps what I'm looking for perhaps is just a more round ball figure from your perspective as Treasury about how much you've spent so far procuring the vaccines from Pfizer and the Serum Institute?
Look, so far we have spent about 1.5 million rands that from the Serum Institute to pay for this vaccine that have been, and this is in the Department of Health's budget and in here. But I know in here we'll have to make resources available again, almost 2 billion rand in the current financial year ending 31st of March, and in the next next financial year and the others, the details will be finalized. Discussions are ongoing with health. And I guess the Minister of Finance will identify that number as soon as the negotiations are complete with health and the service providers, and this amount will be made available at the time of the budget. But currently, we did pay 1.5 million, and 2 billion has been set aside in the current financial year.
This is for whatever vaccine. This is for the Pfizer vaccines, probably the 2 billion,
including the Pfizer vaccine. Yes.
Let's talk about the modalities that Treasury is working on when it comes to the funding models for these vaccines. It's been a huge issue of public contention, and you were quoted speaking about the fact that even the issue of taxes was being looked at potentially to fund these vaccines, which of course has received incredible backlash.
No, it shouldn't be credible backlash. I think people should understand. I was explaining how government funds its operations. And I said government funds its operations from various sources. One, government funds its sources from taxes that we collect on a daily basis. We raise debt, meaning we increase our debt levels. We also can reprioritize spending based on existing programs that we are funding as government. And we also can fund through cash reserves that we may have at any given point in time. So when I did mention a possible tax increase, it was that we are saying government funds its expenditure from taxes. So if it means increasing taxes, we'll look at that. If it means increasing our debt levels, we'll do that. If it means reprioritizing from existing programs, we will do that. The details are being worked out, and we have to remember, Kathy, balance balance the need for other programs other than health with what we have to do, and also ensure that this is priority. Funds must be made available for this to address this pandemic, and we cannot be seen not to be reacting to the urgency that's needed from us as Treasury, including government.
So what is the modality that you're working on right now? Understand that it's a complex process, but ultimately we're hearing the president make announcements about securing different numbers of vaccines from different manufacturers. I imagine as Treasury, you are then brought in to discuss how much you need to pay to who, and that the conversation about where this money is going to come from is something that has already happened, not that is necessarily still happening.
It happened long time ago. It is happening finally. There's a committee called the Ministers' Committee on the Budget. We are presenting some fiscal framework that we're going to present on the 24th of February. Inherent in there is the funding arrangement. So as I say, it's a combination. What do you do? We don't earmark funding. We don't earmark taxes for specific programs in government. Everything comes into the National Revenue Fund, and from there we look at the budget process. Remember, doesn't start now. It started in June of last year already for next year financial year and the next financial year. So all of these processes have been ongoing. The vaccine came a little bit late in the process. We did confirm that we'll reprioritize, we'll increase taxes, or even raise our debt levels where need be. We'll certainly do that. What we committed and what the president committed to South Africa was that this program will be funded. And that's what Treasury also confirmed, that this program of the vaccine rollout will be fully funded from the fiscals, and no one is going to be left behind in terms of accessing the funding that will come as a result of this process that you are presently embarking on.
Mr. Mogajane, yesterday we also saw SCOPA, that's the standing accounts, that's the standing committee in Parliament, asking that the tendering processes around the vaccine, the logistics, the distribution that are going to be entered into now, that all of those processes be made public. And we still have increasing calls for these agreements that are being entered into with pharmaceuticals to also be made public. Will Treasury, at least for its part, be making these documents public?
Look, as I say, each of the companies that we engage with will obviously have clauses that about confidentiality. But confidentiality for who? That's the thing. Is it confidentiality for the outside government. We are a parliamentary democracy here. Does it mean we'll have to divulge? Maybe because of our own constitutional obligations, we may have to. But that call will only be made, not only by us, but by the Department of Health, if we have to. But I guess knowing from previous how we interact with Parliament, how our democracy is structured, we will be forced to divulge the cost, at least, of how much you are paying for these things. And we will insist that this cannot be secret. We have to make it public in the spirit of transparency. We are known to be transparent in our budget process. That's why we've been number one, Kathy, and number two in the last 15 years in budget, open budget transparency international. We've been doing that very well. So I don't think this time around will be secretive in what we're spending. Secondly, on the logistics and the distribution processes and tenders thereof, it's important. It's important that we know what we are doing. It's important that we actually, the process is going to start. I know the Department of Health will be issuing a tender very soon for distribution and storage and transportation of these vaccines. Certainly, we'll be looking at that very closely in terms of ensuring that the Department of Health follows processes that are prescribed in law, companies that have got experience, companies that know what they are doing, companies that have got the necessary equipment and facilities to transport will ensure. And we know, and that's why I said last week, Kathy, that we have learned a lot from the PPE processes previously. We cannot allow ourselves this time around again to get back to that situation where we will be criticized for not having done things above board. The process has to be above board. It has to be transparent. All of the companies have to be known. All of the directors have to be known. And the experience and the expertise that these companies will use and bring. And we expect that it's going to be a multi-award. At least the Department of Health confirmed that multiple awards will be made of companies. And it's not going to be one company. It's going to be a number of companies because, as you can imagine, we must reach all corners of South Africa in ensuring the vaccine is distributed on time and in the quality that they have been delivered on.
Director General of Finance, Dondo Mogajane, let's leave it there for tonight.